When we speak on this year's playoffs, the only thing we can really think of is how pretty much up and down it's been in regards to injuries. And to be honest with you, it's really been very demoralizing, very disappointing. And, it's just this NBA playoffs even though it has a lot of good to it, we got some good series and we got some good action going and things like that. But really, it's the most frustrating and demoralizing playoffs that I've seen in a while. Last year can match up to it as well somewhat. But, when you think about Kawhi Leonard, one of the top players, top 3, top 2 players in the league, top 5 player, whatever you want to say, going out with injury in the first round. We didn't get what we deserved in watching the Phoenix Suns versus the Clippers. At least if the Clippers had one of their superstars, it definitely would have been, a lot more interesting. And I don't know, I'm not sure if the right team is going against the Denver Nuggets right now. I feel like it should be the Clippers, because if Kawhi was healthy, if he stayed healthy the whole series, and if Paul George was healthy, at least one of their superstars, definitely if both of them were healthy, I definitely think the Clippers would have made things a little bit more difficult for the Suns and sent them packing home. I definitely believe that, because when I look at the Suns now against the Denver Nuggets, they look like they have not a clue how to win a game. They look like they have not a clue how to, play a team that's at their full capacity. It looks like to me they're only good at beating teams without their full capacity, which was the Clippers. And they looked good in that series, but there were instances where they looked shaky. And I can be honest with you, I know Chris Paul going out makes a difference, but at the same time, they were still down 0-1 with Chris Paul. They were only up by 3 points in the game, in game 2, with Chris Paul on the floor playing at the level that he's able to provide now. So I can't really say Chris Paul made that much of a difference, because they were already down 0-1, and it looked like they were going to probably go down 0-2 as well, especially the way KCP was hitting threes. Timely threes, I should say, at that. Jokic is just dominating, 39 points. I mean, it just looked like they have no answer for him. And then they ought to be lucky that Jamal Murray wasn't healthy, or he wasn't, playing well the second game, because if he was playing well, if he wasn't shooting so poor, I think Denver would have won the game easily. You know what I'm saying? Whether Chris Paul played the whole game or not, going out with his groin injury, I don't really think it really mattered. So, I mean, when you look at that, you feel like, the wrong team is playing against Denver. The Clippers should be playing against them, because I definitely think the Clippers would have beat them with a healthy Kawhi Leonard, because I think Kawhi is comparable, or, at least comparable to Kevin Durant. I personally think he's a better player than Kevin Durant, because he can do more. Kevin Durant, he's looked shaky a little bit these playoffs. Honestly, Devin Booker's looked like the best player on the team, not Kevin Durant. But either way, that's one situation. Then you had other injuries with Giannis Antetokounmpo. You had, Jimmy Butler had an injury, which I'm not really too concerned about him. I don't look at him as a superstar anyway. I think he's doing good for what Miami has. And Miami's just a good team overall, with a very good coach and a very good supporting cast. And Jimmy is a very, very good number 2 player. He's not a number 1, because he's just not a superstar. And to me, he never will be. And he's not comparable to any of the top players in the league, because his skill really isn't at that level to me. It's just good enough. It's just basic and good enough to get by, a little bit above average compared to some other, NBA players. So, and then, like I said, you had, Giannis going out, which was a huge thing. He missed like 2 or 3 games, but even still, I think, could have found a way to win that series, especially game 4 and 5, I think, or 5 and 6 or whatever, like at his house. And like, I don't know. I don't know how Milwaukee really lost that series, but if you're the number 1 seed, all these pieces that they have, and, everybody's crowning Giannis as the best player in the league. Well, how the hell does he lose to Jimmy Butler, a team that was in the play-in tournament, who lost the first play-in tournament game and had to win a second one to get in, and they knock off a team like that? It's really no way. But at the same time, things happen. And I know Giannis went on his little rant about, a failed season and all that. But at the same time, you're expected to win. You're getting paid $200-300+ million. They don't pay you that just to, we made it to the playoffs and that's good enough. No, they pay you that type of money to help put this team over the top and win a championship. So I know Giannis is right about what he said. Every season is not a failed season, but in the owner's eyes, the guys who are giving you all that money that most people in the world don't have an opportunity to make unless they hit the lottery or something, you're expected to win championships. And that's just the bottom line. And besides, you won't hear these things if the Bucks are winning or other teams are winning. So you got to take the fault when it comes to, your team losing to a team you're not supposed to lose to, which is the Miami Heat. I think they should have beat them at least 4-2 at the most. I thought it was going to be a sweep, a gentleman's sweep, honestly, but either way, it didn't happen, and that's the way it ended up. And then you got Ja Morant, who was out for a little bit of time himself. He had an injury, a hand injury. He played through it as much as he could. I think there was still a little bit of limitations there, even though I saw him kind of be explosive a little bit the latter part of that series against the Lakers. But I think if Ja Morant was healthy, along with, his supporting cast, he was missing Steven Adams, which is one of the best offensive rebounders, in the game, along with maybe one other player, on their team that I think that they find valuable that they were missing as well. So I mean, like the injuries in this year's playoffs, you can also add last year's playoffs too. Just the injuries, is really starting to, it's really starting to become a irritant, to me, because I don't know what the NBA needs to do. I don't know if Adam Silver needs to cut the NBA season back to 65 games a season. I'm not sure what he needs to do, but we can't keep having superstar players getting injured, and these series are being dictated by the more healthier teams, which is a good thing, but a lot of times the healthier teams are not the better teams, you see, and it's like, then on top of that, we're getting deprived of seeing the best competition play against the best competition. I would love to see Kawhi in a 7-game series with Kevin Durant, because I think he will ultimately smash him, especially with the Clippers, with all the depth they have. And like I said, I ultimately think they would have beat them 4-1 or 4-2 with just Kawhi Leonard and the supporting cast he had. I don't even think they really needed Paul George. I thought Russell Westbrook played pretty decent, for that series. I knew he'd be hyped for that one, because anytime going against Kevin Durant, you're going to get the best of Russell Westbrook. That's just the way it is. So a lot of people talk about how good, Russ played in the playoffs. Yeah, but he was extra motivated by playing against one of his so-called arch nemesis enemies, longtime enemy / rival / somewhat friend in Kevin Durant. He gets up for that matchup. So if they played somebody else, maybe Russell Westbrook wouldn't even have played that good. But it's just the fact going against Kevin Durant gives him that extra energy and extra boost, because he wants to prove to the world he didn't need Kevin Durant as much as Kevin Durant tried to prove to the world he didn't need Russ. So it's like, that ultimate, competitiveness is there based upon, their history. So, I mean, but even still, I think Kawhi definitely would have helped the Clippers get over the hump. And then on top of that, you got to look at the Joel Embiid injury, him being injured as well. He played last night's game against the Celtics, but really it was a dud. It was a waste of time. They really could have just saved him for the next game, because really, honestly, Philly did what they were supposed to do. They took one game out of Boston, which is good. You're probably not going to win 2 in Boston, because they still got their 2 star players, which is the law firm, JT and JB, and their supporting cast is pretty much healthy. So it's like, you're not going to win 2 games in Boston, so you probably should have just saved Joel Embiid for the 3rd game, which would be the first home game of theirs in Philly. Give him a couple extra days rest and let him get his rhythm back a little bit and go at it that way. But even still, that's another injury that kind of can decide possibly a series. Now, even though the Sixers won the first game, luckily, because, why don't I say luckily, but they won it. James Harden had 45, and shout out Tyrese Maxey. I think he doesn't get enough credit. I mean, really, I personally think, unless Tyrese Maxey continues to play the way he keeps playing as that solid third guy, I don't think the Sixers will go anywhere without Tyrese Maxey's help. So he definitely got to give him some credit. But James Harden had a big game, which got him past the first game, and they lost this last one. But the series is tied 1-1, and they still got a great chance to win that. But I mean, possibly, if Joel was in rhythm and never got hurt, maybe they would go up, maybe they'd be up 2-0 in this series. So it's like, series are being decided through injury, and I just don't like that as an NBA fan. I'm pretty sure I speak for a lot of other NBA fans out there, which is the reason why this has got to be the most disappointing NBA playoffs I've seen, because like I said, now, thank goodness, as far as superstar power, as far as the playoffs, you got Anthony Davis, LeBron, they're staying healthy. But for some reason, if both of them get hurt, then it's like, oh, man, like it's another setback. You know what I'm saying? We had many setbacks in this year's playoffs. And then on top of that, we got to also throw in the additives. We're not seeing players like Kyrie and Luka, because their team didn't ultimately make it to the play-in tournament, which I find that to be very demoralizing as well, which I can't even believe that. I mean, Luka was doing he was doing a lot better by himself rather than getting help like a Kyrie Irving. You would think they'd be bound to win a championship or something. But that's either another demoralizing, piece there that, in regards to these this year's playoffs and everything surrounding it. So, I mean, I just hope that, the Clippers, all these teams, the Clippers, every team in the NBA, Bucks, let's see, the Memphis Grizzlies, all the teams that suffered injuries with their main star players. I just hope that these players get healthy as quickly as possible. And I hope next year's a turnaround in regards to these year's playoffs. I'm not saying these year's playoffs are bad to the point where I'm not watching them, because I'm going to watch them. I am watching them. I am intrigued by some matchups and things like that. But I just hate to see injuries happen that can dictate the outcome of series. You know what I'm saying? So when you have that happening throughout the NBA, I can see if it happened to one or two teams or something like that. But I mean, the star players, the star power that got injured this year, just in this year's playoffs alone, makes it disappointing, because you're not seeing the best of the best competition face each other and really see who's the best and who's the better player. It's like we're just kind of like substituting players for others in regards to, okay, now they're playing like the Phoenix Suns. Yeah, now they played the Clippers without Kawhi and PG, and everybody knew the Phoenix Suns were going to win. It was automatically, no doubt, no brainer. And I hate the fact that you hear all these negative connotations about a player like Kawhi Leonard, who got hurt. But what about all the other superstar players that got hurt? You know what I'm saying? He wasn't the only one. So, I mean, it's got to be something in the water they're drinking, or it's got to be something in regards to the games, the amount of games that they're playing. I don't know what it is, but I just hope that next year's playoffs is a lot different. Whoever wins the championship this year, I'm grateful to see that, grateful to watch it and be a part of the journey, or be a part of the, whoever wins it. But, I just want to see complete teams be healthy. I want to see these teams be healthy and face each other. And I feel like that's such a far gone conclusion, because it doesn't happen these days. And, I feel like that takes away from us as NBA fans, as analysts, as anybody anybody who watches the game, other than anybody who plays it, which is the NBA players. I feel like it takes away from us. I feel like it's stealing money from us in a lot of ways, because, we're paying to go see these games and see these players, especially around playoff time, and then they get hurt. It's just so frustrating, because your team had a chance, or a team has a chance to go far, and it's like when you look at that and you see an injury happen or a couple of injuries happen, it's a complete 360 turnaround of what it would have been possibly if everybody stayed healthy. It's just demoralizing and it's frustrating, but at the same time, we got to deal with it. And only thing we can hope for is, it gets better next season.